Hello, everyone. We have a really remarkable change of pace today. We have with us Geoff Cook, the co-founder and CEO of the Meet Group, public company, Nasdaq listed company. Stick around. You want to hear this.
Welcome to the Your Mark on the World show with your champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
This episode is made possible via the support of our sponsors, including Johnson & Johnson's Caring Crowd. Geoff, welcome to the show. Geoff, we're thrilled to have you. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
We really appreciate you taking the time. Now, take a minute for the sake of those who don't connect the Meet Group with all of your brands. Tell us about what the company does and what are the brands you operate.
Sure. So we're a collection of apps for meeting new people. We strive to be the best place to meet new people through video. So a lot of our apps all focus on building live streaming features into the experience to help people find new people to meet and date. We have 15 plus million monthly active users with users really all around the world. We have 5 core apps, MeetMe, which is the app I actually founded back in 2005, as well as some apps that we've built or acquired along the way. Lovoo is a European dating community. It's our largest app actually by daily active users. Tags, an African-American meeting dating community. Skout is and previously was Andreessen Horowitz-backed meeting community, kind of with a broad international audience. And our most recent addition to the portfolio was relatively recently an app called Growlr that is a gay dating app.
Great. And so are all of these apps, essentially they are dating apps of different forms and for different target markets, right?
New people and dating. So if you ask our users why they're there, certainly on Lovoo and Growlr, dating is very high. But for the other apps, MeetMe, Skout, and Tagged, meet new people tends to rank even higher. So it's an audience that is kind of interested in flirting. Some people are married and they're just interested in the friendships that they've made on the platforms. So it runs the gamut, and live streaming in particular tends to be more on the friendly end than on the dating end. Because the live streaming feature that we've built is really a broadcast live streaming capability. So you might have 1,000 people watching you. Obviously, that's not really a dating mindset. That's more of an social entertainment mindset. And we found that it fit live streaming into this dating context because in dating apps, you will often have this problem where you're just not getting enough inbound interest, right? Like people aren't either saying hi to you or expressing some interest in you, or they're not responding to your messages. And in those moments, you can either go somewhere else, a different app or watch or a different form of entertainment, or we can give you someone interesting, someone that might give you that sense of human connection. And we found live streaming to just be very powerful at that, because instead of having all these flat photos that people scroll, and some of these people might be online now, but they're still just flat photos on a screen. Now you're scrolling and suddenly you're in somebody's room and they're talking to you, and you can chat with them through text-based chat, and they can respond to you, and that's very powerful. Now you may never date that streamer, or you may. Certainly some of our users do, but I think the entertainment aspect is probably the strongest aspect of the dating community or of the live streaming product we have now.
Well, here in the Your Mark on the World show, our audience is primarily interested in how we change the world to make it better. As you reflect on your work over the last 14 years in this space, how would you say you've made the world a better place?
Sure. So, we see our fundamental mission as being one of human connection. So helping people feel more connected. And, I think if you think of it that way, like the world is obviously, everyone feels lonely at certain parts. Our Lovoo brand actually brands themselves as in their home market, Germany, as the opposite of loneliness. And, people are looking for connection. And we have really just countless testimonials from our users about the meaningful connections they've made, whether they be spouses or really everything in between, sometimes just a good friend. And so, I think at the core, that's what we strive to deliver.
As you, I looked at the stock price this afternoon. I noticed that you have had a pretty good run the last year or so. Did I see that you nearly tripled the stock price? Is that correct?
It depends on what day you're comparing to another day. I mean, I think my view, as the operator, is really one of how can we create more and more value. I think it probably wasn't Buffett. It was probably Munger, somebody who's kind of said it best, that in the short run, the stock market is a voting machine, and in the long run, it's a weighing machine. And I think we take that kind of to heart, that if you spend your days kind of looking at the stock price ups and downs, that's not really delivering value.
Yeah. As you think back to your Harvard days, you were there at Harvard, I think, before there was really an internet, at least certainly before there was a consumer internet. In other words, you're doing something that it really would have been difficult to conceive of doing. How would you explain to your Harvard self what you're doing today?
So I think you're right that in 1997, when I was a sophomore, there obviously was no mobile of any importance. So I think I had a Nokia flip phone at school. At the same time, what I'm doing today is actually quite a bit similar to what I was doing at Harvard. I started an internet company. My first company I started as a sophomore in college in 97, and I actually grew that to a few million in revenue, and then sold it shortly after graduating from Harvard. So I was kind of building a business while also completing a degree back then. And that business was actually an e-commerce company. So it started as I didn't want to work at the library, and I needed to work somewhere. I needed to do something for some extra money. And so I thought, well, what can I do? I can edit essays. I was a good writer. I was good, maybe resumes. So I put this service out there and evolved it over the course of years of being a student, all on the side. And it grew bit bigger than I would have really ever expected, to the point that it was a real business. And so it was only probably within a week of graduating that I signed a deal for $750,000, my first angel investment into that company. And then it was off to the races, and it was a great experience. So I would say that, it's actually more similar, my Harvard experience, to what I'm doing right now, trying to build a business, trying to grow it, get more users, different business. That was much smaller in scale. I didn't need 15 million monthly users to have a sizable amount of revenue in an e-commerce business, but it was fundamentally pretty similar.
Yeah, interesting. As you reflect on your career, and you've had a successful career, what do you think of as being the thing that you're most proud of having accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, on the career side, I would say I would say I'm proud of kind of the people that that really work at the company. And so I've had the pleasure to work with many of the same people for a long time. People that joined the company when we were a Series A. I started in 2005, but then we did a Series A in 2006, and there's still 10 or 12 people at the company from those days. There's many people who've been here more than 10 years, which is kind of a rarity in this day and age. And I think it's a crew that's kind of been in the trenches for a while. So, the pace of change is dramatic. You start as a website, 5 years later, you don't have any web traffic to speak of. It's all mobile apps. And then 5 years later, it's all about live streaming video. So it's how do you handle these massive shifts in how people want to consume media and relate to technology and meet people in this environment. And I think, our view is that people are always going to meet people. That happens to be part of how we're wired. And if you can keep up with the pace of change and what's going on in areas of social networking that maybe aren't about meeting people, but maybe they're more about connecting with people that you can bring to bear a lot of insights that and kind of help constantly improve the product and how people meet. And so I guess I'm proud of the fact that, we have nearly 300 people working for the company today who are building great products and that hold up to tremendous scale.
Excellent. Well, you've also had an opportunity to learn some lessons. What's the most important lesson you've learned through your career?
I think probably what I've learned is to be able to pick yourself off the ground. And so, there's many moments when you're running and scaling a company where, I think in the popular world, pop culture likes to think things are, these stories are almost foregone, conclusions that, okay, it was a rocket ship but this was never a rocket ship. This was never, maybe there are those, but this has been constant, improvement, marked by a year or more of flatness, marked by the next leg up as we kind of got that next feature out that really drove things. And I think resilience is probably the quality that matters the most. When you're discouraged, you come in anyway. And, it's kind of this mix of optimism. You always think the next feature is going to be the next big one, with the sense that, but you realize that it may not be, right? And that's okay, because there's a deep product pipeline. And, you've been with the same people who've made it work many times before. And so I think, I think that's a lot of what it is, resilience.
As you think back to when you started MeetMe, I think it was originally called, was it called My Yearbook?
That's right. That's the original name.
Yeah. Think it through for us, how you've made the transition over the years from My Yearbook through to what you're doing today.
Sure. So My Yearbook was a very different time. The product was very similar. It was a social network for meeting people, but it was a very different time. So 2005, 2006, this is back when MySpace was a dominant social player. Facebook was only in one college at Harvard. And it was a period of, where in the very early stages of a startup, you're focused on just getting users in the door. It's all that really matters. How do you virally hack yourself to growth? And, you benefit from timing. And I certainly did. MySpace, that time was a great timing to be starting a social company, because MySpace was very viral itself. You can post snippets of code into the profiles, and we were able to leverage that by creating this little quiz app that allowed you to say, what Seinfeld character are you? And take some questions and you find out. And we had 80,000, 100,000 of such quizzes like this. That ended up being extremely popular and driving users back to My Yearbook. And then we that was enough to get on the radar screen of venture capitalists. And we did a Series A in 2006 after growing to 1 million registered users in 9 months. We did a Series B a couple years later. And, the timing couldn't have been too much better on that one. I think we closed the Series B like a month before Lehman Brothers, right? And so that probably would never have happened. We probably would have still been viable, but it would have been harder. And so we kind of had some benefit there. But the fundamental business, like some businesses are all about how much they've pivoted. We haven't really pivoted all that much, other than we've always been about the social network for meeting new people. And it's been more of an evolution. So we start on the web, then we move to mobile, then we move to live streaming, but we've never deviated about being a social network for meeting new people. And our name has changed because we felt like it was a better name, it's more encompassing. And we added more apps and audiences, but all of those are also all about meeting new people. And so we serve more people than we ever have, but we never really changed what we were about.
Geoff, what is your superpower?
I wish I had one. I think one of the things that I am good at, or at least am capable of dealing with, is ambiguity, right? So when you're running a startup, or you're running a large organization, you have to be good at dealing with ambiguity. And what that means to me is just having a lot of balls in the air at one time. And some of those balls could drop and, really be problematic. And some of them could be great wins. But you have to be willing to deal with that they're all in the air. And I think that's probably one of the most, like, I hear sometimes people talk about risk, entrepreneurs are more risk loving or something. And of course they aren't, at least not in my experience. They tend to take calculated risks, but I certainly don't go looking for risk. I go looking for growth, and probably the less risky ways to growing, the better.
Yeah. Well, Geoff, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your story. Before you go, would you take just a minute and tell people how they can learn more about you and your work, and how people can connect with you personally?
Sure. You could find me at my website for myself, jeffreycook.com. I'm actually a children's book author as well. Or you can find any of my apps, themeetgroup.com, meetme.com, Lovoo.com, tag.com, skout.com, or any of those on the App Store or Play Store.
Fantastic. Great. Well, thank you very much for being with us, and we wish you every success.
Thank you.
All righty. Let's do some good.
Thank you for listening. Devin Thorpe's mission is to end extreme poverty, improve global health, and mitigate climate change before 2045 by finding and sharing the stories of those who are doing the most good. You can join with other listeners to accelerate Devin's mission by visiting helpdevin.org right now.